Hey everybody, this is John Stoffer, and I'm here to bring you a tech tip from MCAM Northwest. Today, it's a simple video on selection, tips, and tricks. There's usually another way to do something in Mastercam, and a lot of times it's easy to get into a groove, use tools that we're familiar with, and forget to explore what else we have. So today, I'm going to show you a few ways to make your selections a little bit easier. Let's get started. So on this part, let's say that I want to put a contour on the outside wall of this part. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my contour, and I need to chain it in. Now, what you might be thinking initially is use loop. Well, sure, we can use loop. Might select it here, and that works well. The problem with loop is that it's pretty easy to select the wrong side of loop and end up with this instead when I'm trying to get around the floor, right? So I have to select it a couple times. Another way you might think of using it is face. The problem with face is it's also going to include the inside, so I don't necessarily want that either. So a lot of times what I'll do for a situation like this is I'll just set it to C-plane and use edges instead. With edges, as long as you're set to C-plane, anything that is in plane with your chain will automatically loop together. Unless there's a branch point where something else is in plane, then you will have to make a choice there. But it does make everything really easy to chain. It's super fast. So that's one example. But what if what you're wanting to chain isn't necessarily in plane? Let's go ahead and go to our next view sheet. So let's say that I want to add in a deburr toolpath on the underside of this through pocket. I want to use a dovetail tool to cut this because I don't have good access from this side. So I already have that mostly built. I just want to show you the chaining part of it. In the parameters, if I go to select my edges that I want to put in here, instead of using C-plane, I can set this back to 3D. But remember, you do have an option here for shift click to select tangent edges. Since everything here is tangent, I can make my selection really quick with a shift click. I can quickly pick that entire edge for that whole pocket, making this very easy to do. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is drilling. So we have some holes to drill on this part. Let's go ahead and open up our drilling toolpath. Let's say that I want to cut all of these small holes in one operation. Rather than going in here and individually selecting each one of these, I can select all of them very quickly. Remember, you have this pop-up and it will tell you things you can do. And in this case, if I use a Control-Shift-Click, it selects all of the holes that have a matching radius. So let's do it. Control-Shift-Click, and that picks all of those holes and the ones over there. You also have options within the advanced to allow split holes, tapered holes, and multiple solid bodies. So even if you're dealing with some pretty weird circumstances, this can work. At this point, all I would really need to do is change my sort order. I'd probably just use point to point starting here, and that's going to be pretty darn efficient. Cool. So this is not limited to flat work. Let's delete all these. Notice these holes here. These can be drilled with a multi-axis drilling operation. Instead of using a Control-Shift-Click, I can just use a Control-Click, and that will pick all of the holes that are the same size, even if they're on different vectors. Now I want to take a look at one more quick tip. Let's look at this final part here. So in this case, let's say that I want to put a dynamic mill operation to take out all this material in the middle. So let's grab dynamic mill, and I'm going to set up my machining region, and I can just use a face selection for this because that's the area I'm trying to cut. Now, do we use a from outside or stay inside approach? I would want to use the stay inside because I definitely want to avoid these little corners here, but that's a lot of work to set up. So instead, use stay inside, but we're just going to use air regions to tell it where it can go outside the part. Now for this, really the first thought would be to use edges, select an edge, and keep going until you're done. But the faster and more efficient way to do this is to use the option for outer open edges here. This is a face selection type, but when you select that face, it will only pick edges that are out and open, so they're not connected to anything else in the same plane or above. So that's a quick and easy way to make that selection. But what if instead I was doing a contouring operation where I'm trying to go along this radius here? Let's grab a different operation. grab our contour. So let's say I'm trying to go along this. Maybe I want to trace that with a ball end mill or something, just so I can get a nice clean cut. Instead of outer open edges, I can use outer shared edges. When I click that, it's going to automatically select those 4 edges and chain them up correctly and properly with each other. So that's a really quick and efficient way to make that selection. Just remember, you have other options here. We didn't even talk about cavities or bosses, but those are also some pretty useful ways to go about chaining inside of Mastercam. Well, I hope that video was helpful for you. If you like it, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. But really what we want to hear is back from you. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think about this, or tell us what else you want to learn about. We're happy to help. If you want to learn more about Mastercam 2024, go ahead and contact our sales team at sales@mcamnw.com. Thanks. Have a great day.